Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we do the second half of the PSA graded returns from my 600 card binder. At this point, it's a bit of a legacy, so if you're not already, make sure to go check out the binder video and the first PSA graded return video. Both videos will be linked down below, and I will try to have them either somewhere in the end card or linked up here somewhere as a card so that you can go check them out at your leisure. But with all that said, long story short, 600 card binder. I bought it basically as an investment and to try to have a little bit more fun, learn a little bit more about grading cards. Obviously this is a continual process, and so this is the one set of cards that I have sent out so far, 39 cards. I've already showed off 20 on the channel. Here are the other 19. And the cool part is that after today's video, I will be able to display on screen a total of the quote-unquote worth of all the cards that I got graded so far, and then we'll be able to see how far along I am in recuperating the overall value of the binder and the costs of grading that I've encountered so far. So make sure to stick around till the very end of the video to see that. But without further ado and much a fanfare, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other PSA graded returns. So let's see. First things first. Oh, here's a nice one. So here is a 2015 Pokemon XY Full Art Mewtwo EX. Now, the one thing that I'm not in love with, PSA does a weird thing for these cards. They say secret print, so you can't just call it a secret rare, but okay. But I guess part of the reason for that is because this was right around the era when the stuff was starting to emerge. So maybe back then they called it secret print, and then now they call them secret rares in their entirety. So that is the card. Now, I think it's really cool because what I recently learned is that there are many secret rare Mewtwo's and full art Mewtwo's, so this is a pretty cool one. It has quite a few Pokemon in the back of it, which I also really like. The reason this got a the reason this got a 10 is right down there. That is not on the card, my friends. Rather, that is on the card. So that is a pretty gnarly edge wear there. But other than that, a really pretty card. Happy that it is now officially part of the collection. Next up, we have, here's a good one. So here is a full art Zekrom Holo from base Black and White. Now, here's the gimmick with this card. They came out with a Zekrom and a Reshiram, and these are some of the very first full arts that were ever released. Now, what's pretty neat about these is that they made these the first ever full arts, and then in Black and White Legendary Treasures, which is largely a reprint set, they reprinted these cards, but this time in gold. So it's pretty neat because these cards have a lot of historical significance to them. Now, this one got a 9. Now, if I remember correctly, the next card, here we go. Here's a pretty neat one. Here is a full art Lugia EX from Ancient Origins, a Gem Mint 10 no less. So the front of these cards is really a pain in the neck to kind of see, but we can always look at the back of the card for an indication of its overall quality. Well centered, very crispy, no very obvious amounts of wear and tear on the card. And so, yeah, it's well centered, it's good looking, it's a Lugia, which means obviously it's probably worth a lot more money than it used to be, which is pretty neat. So another one of those cards, probably one of my favorite cards from that general era. As I boop the camera, here is a Rayquaza C level X from Supreme Victors. So this is a card that you pulled right out of the set. Obviously, Rayquaza is one of my favorite Pokemon. These cards are relatively difficult because of the amount of holo foiling that they have around the corners, but honestly, one of my favorite champions, one of my favorite Pokemon. This was a cool card to see in the binder. And as I flip it around, I mean, yeah, there's enough damage there that I wouldn't give it a 10, so I can definitely see why this card sort of defaulted to a PSA 9, simply because of that one defect in the upper corner. Next up is a Shining Arceus out of Shining Legends. I hope by now you get the idea that this binder was a hodgepodge of stuff. And really what I did was I went about picking up the stuff that I obviously knew people would either be interested in purchasing sometime in the future, or things that I wanted to protect the value on right away, knowing fully well that there may come a time in the future when you know, those cards would increase in value. So a Shining Arceus is kind of a brainless decision, especially for it to get a PSA 10. It is out of one of, you know, a very fan favorite set, which happens to be Shining Legends. So obviously tons of reasons to go ahead and get that graded. Next up, is a Shining Lugia, and this one got a PSA 9. So this is actually a Black Star promo. It came out of one of the premium collections from the era. So I'm really kind of upset that this didn't get a PSA 10, because then it would have obviously matched with my full art from Ancient Origins, but otherwise a beautiful card. I assume there has to be something wrong with it. Probably that centering, honestly, now that I'm looking at it. It's kind of weird from top to bottom. So really, really pretty card, but happy that it's here. Sad that it's a PSA 9, but I'm not salty or whatever. Here is a 2016 Generations Full Art Flareon EX. Now, in the past video, I had a different version of this card, and I showed it off, and I told you guys how much I like it, and that remains true today. Obviously, a really, really pretty card, and I think it's really unique because you actually get all 3 evolutions in one card, which is pretty neat, even though I guess the center Pokemon is the Flareon, and that's why they kind of gave it the Flareon name. Now, this got a 9, and I'm almost curious why it did. There's a little bit of, there's why. So you got a little bit of edge wear on this side and a little bit of edge wear on this side, and I think that was enough to knock it down to the grade that it got. Coming up next, hello. So here is a 2016 Full Art Mega Charizard EX from Evolutions. This is a Gem Mint 10. This is probably going to be a huge win. Evolutions has gone up a lot in value, and even though I'm not necessarily pricing this at the height of the Pokemon craziness, I do believe it's still gone up enough in value that you can see why sometimes these binders are relatively good investments, because they can and often do contain cards that appreciate over time. And so having that card sitting in my collection gives me tons of leverage going into the future. Here's a card that I'm really excited about. Here is a EX Mew from Holon Phantoms, graded a PSA 9, and I love that serial number. I just like the fact that it's 5500. So if you look at it, other than the 47, it is 335500. So there's something really pleasing about that number. Obviously a really pretty card. Unfortunate that I got the 9 and didn't get the 10. Let's see why that is. Yeah, you've got a whitening there. Yeah, eat me, PSA. Yeah, alright, they got me pretty good though, not gonna lie. Moving right along, friends. Next up on the list is this. Yeah, it's a M Charizard EX Holo from Flashfire, so this was a beautiful card. I love the blue and the contrasting colors there. It did get a PSA 9, and realistically, I mean, one could argue the validity of that corner. I've seen 10s with corners worse. It really just comes down to overall eye appeal on the card, and I guess there wasn't enough with this card that was good to outweigh it getting a PSA 9 for it to get bumped up to PSA 10. Next up is a EX Legend Maker Pikachu, and this is the 93rd card out of a 92 card set, so this is pretty cool because this is the secret rare. Obviously, as you can see, it is a 1 swirl card right here. And then in addition to that, getting a PSA 9 is pretty neat, mainly because that card is probably really difficult to grade. Now, I gotta say, the back of this card is pretty clean. That corner is overage, but it's also the lighting that you're seeing there. Is it really? Yeah. I don't really see much wrong with the card, at least in person. But I think right over here, you get a better idea of the overall amount of holographic on this card, and I think that is a big reason as to why it got the grade that it did. There's probably something there that is causing it to get that grade. Next up is a Call of Legends Ho-Oh shiny card. So here is the shiny card. Obviously, I've done tons of videos on these cards, and this one I can safely say will be getting adopted into my collection. The reason for that is because I had wanted to collect a complete set of these cards, and with this I will be able to do so. One of the things to note is right here in the corner, a pretty wicked divot, but I like when cards actually come back like this for one particular reason. A card like this is less important to me. You know, it's part of my collection, don't get me wrong, I love and care for it, but at the same time, I'm happy because now I have a specimen for what a PSA 8 looks like. And then in the future, if there is a similar card that I have raw, I'll be able to compare it. Now, I do understand that is kind of faulty because not every card is equal or will be assessed the same way, but it is nice to know that I can at least try to calibrate and make myself feel better. This card right here has a pretty wicked edge, but this is, so here is the Zekrom from Legendary Treasure. So earlier in the video when I was telling you guys about how these cards worked, obviously in black and white base they did the full art version, and then in black and white Legendary Treasures they did the gold version of the card. So many of the cards that we have today are inspired by these because these are really the front runners of that particular style of Pokemon card. Here is a near mint 8 of the card, so not necessarily the best grade, but that's quite alright. I believe we have the Reshurams in here as well. So here is the Reshiram gold card. It also got a 8, and if I'm not mistaken, yes, these are sequential certs. So this is 94 and 95 Reshiram and Zekrom, the secret rare, gold, shiny, whatever you want to call them, cards from the set. So this is another beautiful card. Obviously, they may have gone a little too gold with these cards, but you can also even see that the texture goes into the energy, and that's probably an indication that these cards are obviously an inspiration for things like the Amazing Rares, which also have texture all over the card. Obviously, as a PSA 8, you can see some noticeable whitening on the corners. Nothing too crazy, but again, always good to have specimens like this because you can use them to compare and at least kind of calibrate whenever you make a purchase and need to determine whether or not you should get that card graded. Next up is a Gyarados EX from Breakpoint. So this is, again, a secret print, and notice how they didn't run out of room so they could spell it out for you. That's how I know it's secret print and not some other thing. It's a PSA 8. Love cards like this. It's a shiny Gyarados with what looks like a Phione and a Greninja, so that's pretty neat. Really cool card. Again, Breakpoint's one of those sets that doesn't always get the most love, so it's cool to know that there are cards in there that are really neat and nifty. Now, if you're looking at this card, there is a pretty wicked bit of edging right here. There is a little bit of defect on the corner here, so, you know, this card obviously deserved the grade that it got. Good looking card nonetheless, don't get me wrong, but obviously not mint or gem mint according to PSA, probably rightfully so. Here is a Umbreon GX from Sun and Moon. So as I had mentioned, the binder itself spans pretty far out, so you saw many of the GX cards that were available in the binder. I ended up just submitting a few of them because at the time GX cards weren't all that popular. This one got a PSA 9, and really the one major defect is that little corner. It has a little bit of overage on it. So I don't even think that is like damage to the card itself. I think that is an extra piece of hanging cardboard that I probably should have taken off before submitting, or at least like tried to run my finger against to see if I could get it to go away. But all things considered, really cool, good looking card. Umbreon is one of my favorite Pokemon, so worth it to get the card graded, even if it just ends up sitting in my collection. Of course, I had to get the equal and equivalent card, the Espeon, also graded, and I'm happy because, again, it is 91 and 92, so I do have them as sequential certs, and then I also have them really cute, like, you know, they're looking at each other. So this is one of those things where the cards kind of connect in their artwork, which is pretty neat. So sequential cert, both PSA 9, I'm as happy as can be about those. Next up is a Groudon from EX Hidden Legends. This is card 102 out of 101, and again, there's a nice big old swirl right by Groudon's mouth. This is probably one of those cards that's going to end up getting absorbed into my collection, if only because it is such a beautiful and unique card. So I really love the Hoenn Legendary Trio, as many of you know, so totally worth the energy to go ahead and have those ready to go. Finally but not least is a Charizard GX from Burning Shadows. Of course there had to be one of those in there. And this card, dare I say, geez, this card was good looking. So if we take a really good look at it, the back of this card is really, really nice. I want to say this edge might have been the reason why there is just the ever slightest amount of whitening there, and then maybe the centering isn't all it could have been. I really couldn't say for sure. I mean, yeah, this edge is kind of slim, so that's probably why it got the grade that it did, which is a PSA 9, but a good looking card nonetheless, and this will probably be a huge contributor to the bottom line as I compare how much value I've generated versus how much basis I had for the binder. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. The one thing to bear in mind is that all of the prices that I've shown on screen throughout this video are subject to change depending on the, various ebbs and flows of the Pokemon trading card game economy. Obviously, here's how much I made total across the two videos, and here is how much I had spent on everything, including grading the cards and the purchase of the binder. You smash the two together and you end up with this number, which is probably going to tell you whether I'm doing pretty well or pretty badly. And of course, I'm recording the video right now, so I don't know that number, but I'll leave you some notes on what's left to do. Do bear in mind, I only graded 39 cards, and so theoretically speaking, if I'm even like 25% of the way there, I would argue that I think I did pretty well, because I think what that means is that I can basically keep the rest of the cards with, very little to no real impact on my financial situation. So that's pretty cool, because obviously if I can recuperate all of the value that I spent on the binder, that just means all of the other cards are free to me. And again, this is a tactic and a technique that I have used in the past to really kind of diminish the amount of quote-unquote money that I have to spend. It's a major outlay financially at first, but over time, as you recuperate some of those funds and you realize that you really haven't, spent any money once you've put all your money back from sales and trades and all that other kind of stuff, you begin realizing that it's an actual very effective way of going about building a collection up slowly, carefully, and in a little bit more of a calibrated fashion. So, as always, do be mindful that this is not financial advice. This is just me blabbing on about how I go about, doing things in the Pokemon TCG hobby, and your experiences may vary. But with all that said, friends, thanks again for checking out another video. As I always say, you could have been anywhere on the internet, but you chose to hang out with me, and that means the world. Other than that, don't forget to leave a like on the video if you learned something new or saw a card that you like, and if you're not already, feel free to hit that subscribe button to join the Gengar Gang. Other than that, friends, thanks again for checking out another video, and we will talk soon. Peace!